Just because there may not be apparent answers doesn't necessarily mean that we don't all have a bunch of questions. And besides, it's Packers Bears week on this edition of your Packers Fan Podcast.
I'm Scott Clark, the host of the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and please, don't blame me for picking the Colts this week. I did see kickoff, and I wore my Packer gear all day long. But hey, silver lining, we're still in first in the division, and 2 full games ahead of the Bears, so the Pack is far from down and out.
And win or lose, Wayne Henderson from MediaVoiceovers.com here with you on this 216th episode, and that game against the Colts is the exact reason we wait at least a day to record the podcast. You know, sleep on it and so forth. Not be quite as frustrated, I guess. On this episode of the show, we're going to talk about what we loved and didn't from the loss in Indy, and something that we're very thankful for on this Thanksgiving week here in the States are your voicemails, your emails, and other feedback.
Also, we'll preview next Sunday night's Bears at Packers game, including predictions for the final score and some other football-related thoughts as well. And let's kick things off with some positives, some highlights from the Packers' up-and-down outing in Indianapolis. I love it when we start out strong. That first play from scrimmage, 33-yard pass to Davante Adams. It was really cool to see. Thought we were on fire, thought things were happening. And there was a pretty nice touchdown pass to Tunyon, also known as Bobby T. I feel like we have a different name for him every week. Bobby Tunyon, Bobby T, Tunyon, Funyon. Those first 4 scores in this game were incredible. I think I texted in our Facebook group. It felt like Rodgers was being Oprah. You get a TD, and you get a TD, you get a TD. Everybody gets TDs. It was pretty amazing.
Channeling your inner Oprah. I can feel it, yeah. It was unfortunate that in the second half it was, you get a flag, you get a flag, and you get a flag. Everybody gets flags, but...
Don't blame it on the officiating, man. Don't do it.
Did I use the B word? Did I?
No.
Let me just say that was an amazing run after catch by Equanimeous St. Brown earlier in the game to set up the touchdown by Aaron Jones coming up on the next play. I could even hear some Go Pack Goes coming through my TV speakers. And, you know, it's not very often that we're playing in a game this season where there's any fans at all. But to have what little fans were there, a good chunk of them were Packers fans, that gets 2 thumbs up from this guy.
I missed that completely, man. You were paying a lot closer attention than I was. I kind of tend to tune out the crowd noise just because I assume most of it is fake. So I don't really buy into it anymore. But yeah, good call. I also liked to see that Aaron Rodgers still has it. Yes, he made some mistakes. He made some poor throws. And he looked super frustrated, but he still refuses to give up. That last drive may not have ended with a game-winning score like we hoped, but it's good to see that our leader still has the ability to drive down the field in under 2 minutes, which gives me hope for the rest of the season.
So if there's a way that we could just rig the scoreboard so that it always shows that we're in the final 2 minutes,
let's just do that.
2-minute offense all day. And since you know how much I love Packers touchdowns, that Davante Adams touchdown you alluded to earlier was signature. It was Davante. Nobody else could have done it quite like that. And even Jamal Williams, man, he was in fine style with that receiving touchdown. I just wanted to echo those thoughts because those touchdowns were sweet.
It felt really good being up by 14 at going into the half, didn't it?
Well, yes, especially on the road and especially in a game where the line was so close that it kept flip-flopping between who was the favorite or not. But then there were just questions. And aside from the obvious question of what the heck is going on out there, as Lombardi would have most assuredly had said, why wasn't there a flag on that obvious face masking call against Jones in the second half? And why on 4th and 1, deep in Colts territory, with a chance to either kick a field goal to tie the puppy at that point, or at least use our fairly effective running game? Why did we pass the ball incompletely, I might add?
Well, we gotta surprise him, man. We gotta, just drives me crazy.
I think they were plenty surprised that we threw 10 yards incomplete when we could have done a quarterback sneak, a handoff, or even a field goal, anything.
Well, and not only that, but going back to the 2-minute drill at the end of the game, which I was praising up and down earlier a few moments ago, why were we trying to draw the defense off sides when there's less than a minute left in the game?
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
I was watching the game going, what's going on? Hike the ball. Because then we were in a rush to get down into the end zone and had to scramble and made a poor decision in the end zone. And that would have won the game for us. That wouldn't have just like tied it like we had to settle for a field goal. The game would have been over at that point. And instead we tried to draw them off sides. Why? Why? For a free play? For 5 yards? Come on.
Yeah. And most teams have caught on to that by now. So it's great when it works, but it doesn't appear to be working as much as it used to because they figured it out. And why the horrible officiating all day? And I'm not talking about that hit on Phillip Rivers that we picked up and ran it all the way in thinking it was a touchdown. I'm talking about that blown face mask call I alluded to earlier. Jared said it best. What a horse crap no call. That was a blatant face mask. And he added, the refs are a bunch of clowns today. And like David explained in the Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, I think this one line judge needs to realize a player can leave as long as they don't cross the line of scrimmage and the ball is snapped. I questioned her throwing flags with Za'Darius the last time he did it and also on Preston Smith on the one before that. So there's inconsistency on just like throwing the flags willy-nilly. It was crazy.
It did help us in the last quarter for sure because, boy, the Colts were getting all kinds of flags that kept them to a field goal, which kept us in the game, at least momentarily. But, there was lots and lots of flags. And, yes, the defense can move. The offense cannot. That's where you get the false starts. But as long as you don't cross the line, like David said, it's free game.
Yeah, so I'm going to get off my soapbox at this point.
Well, and I'm going to get back on mine for 1 second and just reiterate, Wayne, I know there were some blown calls in here. That is not why we lost this game. The Packers did this to themselves. There was so many things, especially with the defense. I mean, come on, giving up a 14 lead in the second half, that's just absolutely unacceptable. And I've been more optimistic than most when it comes to Pettine's work, even defended him at times. But it's getting more and more difficult to do each week. I mean, also, how many times did Rivers escape on what should have been an easy sack? Come on, man. I wanted to see him planted so many times, and we missed him.
He was somehow able to get away. It's not like he's, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, I don't know why we couldn't get there. Those are valid points indeed. And I know there's a lot of talk about Mike Pettine, and I'm sure in the listener feedback segment coming up in just a little bit, there'll be more Mike Pettine talk. But at this point, we're 2/3 of the way through the season, more or less. I don't think making a change on the coaching side is necessarily going to change things, at least not fast enough when the playoffs are still in sight, because like you mentioned, we are still in first place in the division. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the season, that might have to be looked at unless we're hoisting the Lombardi trophy.
Mm-hmm. And next year for sure, but stick with them for now.
And our offense, which was almost unstoppable in the first half, like you said, they practically didn't even show up in the second half till the final few minutes. I mean, sure, the Colts made some halftime adjustments on defense, but I think a lot of it just falls on the Packers. We just, Aaron Rodgers and the offense were only out there for like a 3 and out, and then we had to get rid of the ball after a 3 and out. And so then our tired defense is back out there again, and then we didn't do much better the next time we had the ball in the third quarter. It was just hard to fathom why we suddenly couldn't do squat.
Very frustrating to watch, and even more frustrating was our special teams. I mean, outside of field goals, everything just seemed like a complete mess. We looked like a bunch of high school players out there on occasion. I think we need to take a serious look at stepping up our game in this department because, much like I say about the defense, the offense just can't win ball games on their own. We've got to get solid on special teams and defense. Otherwise, we are just not going to make the cut here in the final stretch. I know we've got a little bit of a lead now. We got a 2-game lead. That has the potential for dwindling if we don't shape up. And with as strong as we started this season, I don't want to see that falter at all.
No, just like the 14-point lead at halftime dwindled away, we just cannot let that happen. And there are occasions when the offense can win games all by themselves, but not when we're playing a top defense like the Colts or the Buccaneers. We need both sides of the ball to be able to win those games.
And that is one bright side, that the Colts do have a fantastic defense, and we held our own to some degree. I just don't understand the inconsistency, how we can do that close of a game against the Colts, but then we lose to the Vikings, and we struggle with the Jaguars, and I don't understand it. I say it every week. The confidence is the thing. We're getting overconfident with easy teams, and then we step up against a team like the Colts, and we almost make it. But we've got to be not so confident and overconfident when it comes to these games. But that's how we thought about the game. Let's hear what you, the listeners, thought. Our voicemail line, again, if you need it, is 920-3PACK-GO. Or from anywhere on this particular planet, you can send it to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com and get it to us by midnight every Sunday night. Now, this week will be a little bit different because the game is Sunday night, so feel free to get those in. But we'll be looking to get those wrapped up as quickly as possible so Wayne and I can record on Monday. Also, if you want some tips on how to record that on your phone, there is a voice memo note, at least on an iPhone. I don't know about you Android people. Voice memo will actually let you email it directly from the app, and you can just drop it again to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com.
Oh, Pack, no. Oh, Pack, no. Oh, for once, I was thinking the defense is tackling okay. This is Joe in Kentucky. So I was thinking the defense was tackling okay. Well, except for that one in the end of the third quarter. We got some tip balls. That was good. The coverage wasn't too bad, but man, felt like they were blocking us out, and we had holes everywhere until I got to the fourth quarter, and said, oh, well, that's why, because they're holding us all over the place. I don't know. I was thinking, what's up with the time of possession? What's up with the fumbles? What's up with the turnovers? What's up with the penalties? I mean, what's up with the punts that are bouncing back into the field? What is up with this game? But, we're still 7-3. We're only behind the Steelers, Chiefs, and Saints. So we got the Bears coming up. We can still do this. Let's do a Go Pack Go. Go Pack Go. Let's do this. I hope we get some enthusiastic calls this week. Love the show. Talk to you later.
Go Pack Go indeed, Joe. Thank you very much for sending that in. And by the sound quality there, that sounded like it was recorded on his phone or his computer and attached to an email and sent to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround after the game Sunday night, but we don't have as much time to prep for the show. So before you go to bed Sunday night, let us know. But great points, Joe. It was great to see our defense getting some tipped balls, and the coverage wasn't too bad at some points, but there were holes all over the field. And Joe, much like me earlier in the show, questions. What's up with the fumbles, the punts, the penalties, and so forth?
Yeah. What's up with this? What's up with that? What's up with this? What's up with that? Also, by the way, Joe, I love how you channeled your inner Megan and announced who you were halfway through your voicemail. I love that that's becoming a thing.
We should probably introduce ourselves on the show next week, like just midway through the voicemail segments.
Oh, by the way, this is Scott.
This is Wayne. But Joe, great to hear from you. Please send in more feedback after the rest of the games. I can't believe the season's closing in on 2/3. So we want to hear from you again.
Go Pack Go! Go Pack Go! Hey guys, Andre in LA. That was another bummer of a loss. But I will say this. I know most people are going to talk about the fumble by MVS, but we were up 28-17 late in the third quarter. I'm not really sure what happened offensively. Pretty much all day they were able to keep the run under control. Rodgers was good at times, were actually phenomenal at times, and then just sloppy. The interception, the fumble early in the first quarter. I got to be honest, it felt like this is really the second time this year where we were really tested against both a great offense and a great defense like Tampa Bay, and we did better, but we didn't finish the game. So again, that's something to keep an eye out on, playing the full 60 minutes. I love the way they spread the offense around as far as passing the ball, but I think we just got to do a better job of not turning the ball over. It is a bummer of a loss, but you know what? We still were on the road. It was weird to see fans there and the Lambeau Leap by Jones. I was like, oh, wow, there's a few people in the fans, so that's an interesting experience. But it was still a really good game. It was a gritty game. We just got to do better at finishing. Love you guys. Grin and cold till I'm dead and cold. Can't wait to hear the podcast. Go, Pod, go! Oh, before I forget, someone mentioned it a month ago. One of you guys said LaFleur is great in the red zone, and you're right. His play calling in the red zone is great. Go, Pack, go!
Let's see how many Go Pack goes you can get in that voicemail. Thanks so much, Andre. Always good to hear from you, even though we had bad news this week. Love hearing your voice every time. You had a lot to unpack here, but it was definitely a bummer of a loss. The interception, I think, really hurt. Just the turnovers in general. I feel like we're falling into that slump we did last year. We just came out the gate awesome, and then we had all these stats of no turnovers in this many games, and opening drives. We scored on the opening drive for every game for how many, and why the announcers got to jinx it for us? It's a bummer.
You sound like Sir Troy. Whenever they put next gen stats up on the screen, you can count on things going south in a hurry. But
Pretty
that
much.
is a great point about those streaks that we were bragging about just a month ago.
Yeah, and he makes a good point too about being the second time we were really tested. I think that's true. Even though we did lose to the Vikings, we should not have lost to the Vikings. This was a tough game. We really should be 8-2, not 7-3. But our overconfidence got the best of us, man. What can you say,
Scott? We should be 10-0. I just want to throw that out there. But Andre, always awesome to hear from you. Go Pack goes, coming in clutch. LaFleur, great in the red zone. All solid points. Let's see what happens this coming Sunday night. Thanks again, Andre.
Hey guys, it's Mark from New Lisbon. A little tougher to call after a loss, but you talk about a tale of two halves. The first half just looked really good. And I guess defensively, obviously people are pointing fingers and wanting Patton fired. But it was just kind of frustrating to see Phillip Rivers just sitting back in the pocket when he's so immobile, and we didn't blitz him. And Patton is just not very aggressive with the blitz. So I'd like to see the Packers blitz more. But our defense is on the field a lot. Offensively, the short yardage, my gosh. I'm sure every Packer fan is just screaming at the TV on 3rd and 1 and on the last 4th and 1 when we threw the pass on the flat and Rodgers overthrew, I believe, Jamal Williams. So the Blakes just didn't go our way, and it's a tough loss, but I'm still optimistic. I guess the encouraging thing was when they put the starters up on offense and defense, we're as healthy as we've been in a while. To see Kevin King out there and to see Lazard back on offense. The only injury of note seems to be Corey Linsley, and that was huge. Hopefully he'll be healthy. But we're still 7-3. We kind of gave up the 1 seed, as I think New Orleans is 8-2 now. So Rodgers is still a great quarterback, and we tend to rely on him a little bit too much. It was kind of disappointing that Aaron Jones only got 10 carries. Seems like they have to use him a little bit more. But yeah, it's their week, and I'm sure our defense is going to look a little bit better against that anemic, pathetic Bears offense. I hope I didn't jinx us. But it is their week, and go Pack go. We'll take care of the Bears at Lambeau next Sunday night. And again, you guys have a great podcast. Wayne and Scott, you do a great job. So we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Mark, thank you very much for the kind words and calling in your feedback. We appreciate it. And yeah, we understand it's tough to call into the show after a loss, but we really appreciate you going the extra mile and making that happen. And it truly was a tale of two halves. After that first half, I was just like riding high and getting a little overconfident, more than usual myself.
Yeah. What did I say about overconfidence, man? Come on. You've been listening to the show for a while now.
We don't want the Packers players to get overconfident, but the fans, we can go bonkers if we want, I guess.
I was equally frustrated that Williams only got, or was it Williams or Jones that only got 10 carries, especially on 4th and 1. Like, what are you doing?
That incomplete pass. And yes, Mark, I was screaming at my TV.
Yeah, sometimes I've met Wayne in person. One time at a podcast convention in Chicago. That's the only time I've met him in person. And sometimes I really wish that Wayne and I lived closer so we could watch games together. I feel like I would have been ducking things that he would have been hurling at his television if I were there this time. So it was probably best that I was out here in Illinois.
If it was a year ago, I would have been throwing things at the TV because it was a frustrating television set. But we just got a brand new one a couple months ago. So I would just find a different place to throw them. And Mark, yes, so frustrating. We didn't blitz harder against Phillip Rivers, who's not the most mobile quarterback in the history of the NFL. Why?
Right.
Why? More questions. But I agree. I'm a little worried about Corey Linsley's injury.
He also made a good point about this is the healthiest we've been in a while.
Yes. Thank
goodness.
We
still couldn't, which is a good thing, but we couldn't pull it through. We were winning games when Devontae was gone. We were winning, you know what I mean? Like, you get all your stars here outside of, Linsley, who's not there, but what happened? We should have won this game. We really should have. We had it. I think I texted that to you, Wayne.
You did.
We had it. And we just let it slip through our fingers.
Hey guys, it's Megan. I've had a little bit of time to sleep on the game and actually give some constructive feedback. I thought we did a really good job of moving the ball around to everybody. I think there's like Devontae, Bobby, Jamal, Jonesy scored. It was nice in the first half, especially. The way they moved the ball, I felt like we saw a lot of Aaron on the field. I felt like defense really showed up for sure. And then it was kind of, second half did kind of seem, at least just the first part of it, that we didn't see Aaron at all. So, like, defensive-wise, we couldn't stop Indy. But, and then it's something to be said for moving the ball down into scoring territory to tie up the game at the very end. And MVS had that pretty crucial catch, and I know now he's probably a lot of hate that he doesn't deserve. I mean, that kind of sucks. It's never fun to lose, and it's never fun to fumble, and everybody does it, both lose and fumble. So I hope that he's not too hard on himself, hard enough to get better, but nothing more than that. And I hope everyone else gives them the credit where it's due and kind of cuts them a break. And I still ended up with a loss, which at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, so that sucks. But anyways, I just wanted to give a little bit more feedback rather than just saying we lost a close game. Hope you guys have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye. Go Pack, go.
It was a little off-putting hearing Megan introduce herself at the beginning of her voicemail. That threw me off a little bit. Yes, I definitely wanted to comment on the tweets that MVS was getting. I don't know if you saw them, Wayne.
I purposely avoided them because I saw the headlines. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I mean, the dude's getting death threats for fumbling a ball.
That's stupid. I mean, it's just like back in the Bostic thing in the playoffs with the onside kick. And it's like, those are not true fans. Those are people that I believe are under the influence of something, but it's just ridiculous to do that type of thing to a football player. And of course, not that anybody deserves any death threats of any kind, even if people are just joking around, even if they're on the opposition. But did Aaron Rodgers get many for his interception?
Right. We're Packers fans, guys. We're better than that.
Yes, exactly what I was. Well put, Scott. We of any fans should be better than that.
Mm-hmm. Just be better people in general. Not just Packers fans, but everybody. Be kind, please.
And luckily, MVS did, send out some tweets of his own. He says that he's shocked by the whole thing, but his teammates have his back as well as they should. And I guess LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers both, made sure to stand up for him in their post-game press conferences or the next day, whenever it was. People are standing up for him as well they should. And Megan makes a good point that for the most part, we were doing a pretty good job of moving the ball, especially when it mattered most, trying to catch up. I couldn't believe we had to play catch up, even if it was just a few points. Crazy.
Nuts.
I think Scott said, we had it. We had it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, with our weekly poll that we post in the Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on the old Twitter at Packers Fan Pod, we're looking towards the future, okay? Packers fans, it's Bears week in Green Bay. This coming Sunday night, what do you think the final score will look like? And of course, Scott, I'm not going to ask for your spoilery prediction until we get to that part of the show. But for the listeners, the Packers won't have enough points when time runs out, or it will be far too close of a Packers win, or will the Packers win by a touchdown, or will the Packers take out their frustrations on the Bears and have a huge victory? Well, guess what? 45% of you voted saying the Packers are going to have a huge victory and bounce back in style. 18% voted saying the Packers will win by a touchdown. 32% said it will be far too close of a Packers win, but it'll be a win. And 5%, probably some votes that need to be recounted. The Packers won't have enough points when time runs out.
So we're not going to give our predictions now because we're going to do them later. Is that what you're saying?
Right, in the usual segment on the show.
All right, but our listeners did have some comments on here as well. There was a poll posted on social media, and the comments there started with Jacob, who said, "Duh, Bears. Honestly, I don't think they are competent enough on offense to win, but there's a reason they play the games." Bill also commented and said, "Well, LaFleur hasn't lost 2 in a row, and the Bears still suck, so I'm sure the Pack will get the W, but the need to make this a statement game. They need to make this a statement game." We also, so lots of good comments there. We're going to go ahead and move on to some emails. Jared McChinney-Kerr, who I was lucky enough to interact with in the Facebook group during the game this week, started out and said, "It was a tale of two halves. Our beloved Packers looked dominant throughout the first half, even with some of the hiccups that happened during that time. However, the Colts adjusted big time going into the second half, and the Packers just couldn't respond. I'll leave the soapbox for you since I know you plan on it, but all in all, it was a tough loss. Seeing such stellar performances in the beginning to then only put up 3 points the rest of the game was just bad. Undisciplined football. Penalties, mistakes, and bad coaching, especially on defense and special teams, made the second half what it was. However, it is Bears week, and we know that our Pack has it in them to shake this loss off and push forward stronger than ever. I look forward to seeing them bounce back and show Chicago why the Packers are the true kings of the North." He also had a mention about his favorite Packers-Bears moment, and he says, "When the Packers beat the Bears 55-14 back in 2014, no particular reason. I just love seeing them manhandle a team like that, especially the Bears. P.S. If I ever see Preston Smith assigned in coverage in the backfield again, I will personally fly to Green Bay, hold 2 pieces of bread on either side of Mike Pettine's head, and have him repeat after me, 'I'm an idiot sandwich.'"
Oh, wow. That's a visual. Jared, thank you for sending that in. And yeah, we had the soapbox earlier. Oh, that was a great memory. I remember that game. It was such a huge blowout. Beautiful to see. Also, an email from CCR, Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher in Green Bay. What a disappointment. That was a heartbreaking loss that we took against the Colts. Although we lost, we did have a few bright things happen. One of the bright points was that Hail Mary throw to MVS. No doubt, Caleb, Kathy, and Roy. Now, the downfall, the turnovers we had, the poor defensive performance, and the biggest downfall were those fumbles that we could have prevented. And although we lost, at least we didn't get demolished by the Colts. It's time to shake it off and get ready for the Bears. Go, Pack, go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher, thank you very much for emailing us.
Also, one from Stephen Verheeren, who says, "Checking in from Palace Park, where the hometown Chicago Bears, well, you know. What a missed opportunity. Missed the chance to beat the number 1 defense in the league. The Packers have also missed a chance to try for getting a better record than last year. Can you believe that going into the bye, the Packers had no turnovers at all? And now look. The final 1 minute, 35 second for regulation, that is where the game got interesting, even when the defense got the ball back and ran it for what looked like to be a touchdown on defense with 1 minute and 25 seconds to go, and the refs reviewed it and overturned it. Not only would the loss of Packers give up number 1 seed in the NFC, which I didn't believe that they would deserve to have the number 1 seed in the playoffs. And remember, only the top number 1 seeds in both the NFC and AFC get the first round bye in the playoffs. And now our Green Bay Packers finally get to play the Bad News Bears, who surprisingly started out the season with a 5-1 record, with their last win coming against the Carolina Panthers, and have since lost 4 games in a row. But the Chicago Bears will be coming off their bye week with the question of who will be starting quarterback. I also want to pass on my condolences to Andre from LA and his daughter of the recent loss of his daughter's first pet rabbit. But one of my keys for a Packers victory over the Chicago Bears is don't let them score any points at all in the third period.
Amen.
I would like to finish up by wishing you guys and all the Packers Fan Podcast listeners in the United States a very happy Thanksgiving, Stephen Verheeren. Thank you very much, Stephen. I did want to comment very quickly. What were we talking about here? With the throw that Rivers did, it was a question whether or not it was a fumble or an incomplete pass. That was the weirdest. I've watched that play so many times, and it was tipped. And it looks like from the one angle that it went sideways, but the ball clearly went forward about 10 yards. To me, there's no doubt that was an incomplete pass. It just doesn't look like it the way it left his hands. I don't know how that ball traveled physically, but it had to have. So,
the magic air in Indianapolis, I guess.
Exactly. Also, we had some comments from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group. First off, Steven says, I blame Darius Shepard. His hands are not reliable, and his bad returning kept us back in a major way. We started way too many drives backed up in the end zone. Time to look at another replacement return guy or work on getting Swerve and Irvin back fast. Also, Bill said, so dang frustrating. Time and time again, they don't make adjustments when the opponents do. It's a really good point.
And speaking of frustration, Dictus says, the most frustrating thing, we were winning against a really good team. And then we just handed them the win, down by down, error by error, choke by choke. Unbearable. Absolutely horrendous. Special teams battling with the defense who are better. Come on, man.
True that. Also, David says, I think they have the pieces to be a good defensive team. They have a coach who doesn't trust and plays prevent and dime defense too much. Rodgers also needs to take a look in the mirror. He made some bad throws and poor decisions that wasn't helping the team. Everyone and their mother knows you're looking Adams' way on 3rd and goal. He's way too reliant on him and needs to really start putting trust in others. I do agree with David. That play in particular, that in the end zone that would have won the game for us, had to throw it to Adams. You know who was wide open on the far right side?
Who?
Bobby T.
Bobby T.
He was wide open.
Tanyan?
If you go back and watch the play, he saw the ball being thrown to Adams and literally was like throwing his hands up like, I'm here. He could have just lobbed it in there. Game would have been over at that point. Very frustrating. Yes, I know I said some positive things about Rodgers, but he definitely made quite a few errors. And we kind of need him to be perfect right now as we go into next week.
Absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for your calls, emails, comments, and support. Join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community. Be part of the conversation at packerscommunity.com, and especially on game day, that live discussion thread where we got some of the comments was really active and on fire this week with highs and lows and everything in between. And so it's going to be very interesting this Sunday night when your 7-3 Green Bay Packers are back home at Lambeau, and it's Bears week, people. Yep, we finally play the 5-5 Bears of Chicago for the first time this year, Sunday, November 29th at 7:20 p.m. Central. It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL. Of course, as Packers fans, we know that. It goes back to 1921. Packers lead the series all time. Duh. Packers leading 99-95, and in that long history, 6 ties. Let's not add to that this week.
You know what's fun to think about? If we win this game, that will be our 100th win over the Chicago Bears.
That would be very, very nice.
Yeah.
Let's do it. The Pack and Dub Bears have combined 65 members in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Chicago currently has 34, and we quote unquote only have 31. But over the next 10 years, how many Bears are going to go in compared to how many Packers? I'm just saying we're going to eclipse that pretty darn quickly.
Well, I mean, I think Reggie White counts for 2, doesn't he? He was a pretty big dude.
Yeah, let's do that. My first time seeing AR-12 with the Pack, as well as seeing the renovated Lambeau Field for the first time, was when Sir Troy had me join in watching the Packers absolutely crush the Bears. It was a fantastic night. The Packers-Bears rivalry, the pregame, the postgame, driving over stuffed teddy bears to get out of the parking lot. It was crazy. Best part, of course, aside from winning, was sacking Jay Cutler numerous times. It
always feels good.
It was. And when I get my time machine fixed, I'm going back to September 30th, 1962. Vince Lombardi's Packers shut out Hallis's Bears 49-0 at Citi Stadium.
Yeah.
That would be a great game to witness. And what's funny is Green Bay repeated that score against the Eagles just 6 weeks later on November 12th, 1962. Can you imagine 2 games within 2 months, both being epic Packer victories with a score of 49-0?
I feel like we don't have scores like that anymore. We never see shutout games, hardly ever. And if we do, it's usually not 49 points. I kind of miss that aspect of the early days of football.
This Sunday night is the opportunity.
There you go. My favorite Bears victory was the 2011 NFC Championship game. I think I may have told this story before, so forgive me if I have. But I got a really good buddy of mine who's a huge Bears fan. We have a picture of us facing off like nose to nose, wearing our respective jerseys, and we made a bet that the loser had to wear the shirt of the other team on Super Bowl Sunday 2 weeks later. Needless to say, I won that bet, and the really funny part about that is that my buddy is a big fella, we'll say. So finding a shirt that he was able to squeeze into was a little difficult. We finally found a sweat. It was a Super Bowl 31 sweatshirt that he had to wear the entire game, and it was tight. But he did it. He was a trooper, and he pulled it off. So that was my favorite, most memorable win over the Bears for sure.
That's a beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should try to get that repeated this year as well. And the weather forecast, it keeps changing, but as of right now, Sunday night's weather at Lambeau Field is going to be a night to bundle up. The forecast is for light rain prior to the game, and then getting down to around freezing at kickoff, and a chance of 1 to even 2 inches of snow. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go?
No, let's get a real Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go!
Thank you.
That better?
Yes.
Now for my keys to a Packers victory over the Bears. First off, protect Aaron Rodgers. Clearly, we can't rely on our defense as much as we'd like, so unfortunately, this win falls on the shoulders of AR-12. Not to disparage other players, but I'm just saying. His completion percentage currently is the highest it's been since his first MVP season in 2011, which, as I mentioned earlier, earned us the Lombardi Trophy. He's also well on pace for another 40 touchdown pass season, which he's only done twice in his career so far. With all that said, he can't do that against Chicago if he's constantly getting pressured. The focus needs to be on getting him the protection he needs in order to win the game for us, along with the rest of the team. Also, figure out what's up with our defense and special teams. Yes, I'm saying it once again, but it bears repeating. We can't rely solely on Aaron Rodgers and his offense to win the game for us. Get it together, get back to basics, and for the love of all that is sacred, tackle. Just tackle. Oh, we also only have 9 takeaways in the last 10 games. That needs to change if we're going to walk away with a W this week. This is also a good week to attack Chicago's offensive line, especially since we still don't know yet who's going to be taking the snaps. We're less than a week away. We should be bombarding them at this point. That inconsistency should be taken advantage of for sure. Lastly, play all 4 quarters. We came out the gate swinging this past week, but decided to roll over in the second half. It's profound to say, but we need both halves to be productive if we're going to avoid embarrassment this week. If we get an early lead, don't let that overconfidence be our downfall once again. Keep it fundamental, spread the ball all over the place, keep the defense guessing the entire game, and seal the deal. And there you have it.
I was taking notes because I want to see how this plays out. If they can do those three things, Scott, victory will definitely be ours. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the keys to victory. Victory was not on the Packers' side this week, and I picked the Packers to win because, well, one, that's what I do most of the time, but also I really thought we were going to win. It didn't work out for me or the Packers.
No, and as much as I do want to catch up to you, Wayne, and keep from having to sing songs on this podcast at the end of the season, I'll take the W. Yeah, the differentials didn't really matter, but just in case you were wondering, my differential was 15. Yours was 20, because you said Packers 24, Colts 21. I said Colts 27, Packers 23, and the game was actually 34-31, which still just makes me twitch a little bit when I see how close we came to winning that game. Anyway, so that leaves us at a score of Wayne with 5 and Scott with 3. So I am within 2 once again, Wayne, and this week I'm going to pick the Packers to win. I'm going to say Packers 24, Bears 17. It will be just that one score. I think it's possible it could even be less than that, but for nice round numbers, I'm going to say 24-17. How about you?
So that's almost another heart attack pack kind of game. 24-17. Just thank goodness you're picking the Packers to win this week, Scott, because wow, just wow. And yes, our 2020 season wager fund, whichever one of us has the most correct guesses at the end of the season does not have to sing. And the one that does not, the one who loses, gets to sing. And of course, Scott, if by some chance you don't catch up and overtake me, you will be doing your falsetto, singing some maybe Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And if by some chance things turn around and I choke away the lead like the Packers did this week,
Cardi B.
No. We had already previously decided I will be singing Bang on the Drum All Day with Green Bay Packers lyrics.
Nope. It is decided. This is the way. This is the way,
What,
Wayne.
is this The Mandalorian?
Yes, you are going to be doing a dramatic reading of a Cardi B song in your movie trailer voice. It is decided. This is the way. I have spoken.
Thankfully, that's not going to come to fruition because I also am picking a Packers victory. You picked Packers 24, Bears 17. Yeah, the Bears, they'll be lucky to have 17, so I'm going to go with that. Packers are going to get at least 28, and I would like to see them get 48, but let's go with 28 for math reasons.
I don't think we've ever picked one of the teams the same score. That's interesting.
Yeah, so if the Bears score 17 exactly, neither of us gets that advantage this week.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. The Packers do still lead the North 7-3. The Bears are 5-5. The Lions and Vikings tied at 4-6. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to see the Vikings lose. And speaking of some other interesting NFL happenings this week, I don't know if you read this, Wayne, but Mike McCarthy, obviously coach of the Dallas Cowboys right now, had an interesting way to motivate his team on Saturday night. Have you heard this story yet?
No, I've been kind of out of the loop on what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys.
So Mike McCarthy was in a hotel, like one of the conference rooms or whatever, with his team, trying to motivate them for the coming game, and set up several watermelons on tables and came out with a literal sledgehammer and was sledgehamming watermelons, getting watermelon juice everywhere. And he had certain words, things that they needed to do for the following game. And he basically hammered home his point by smashing watermelons, the last of which had a picture of Dalvin Cook on it. He was trying to say that they needed to hammer the ball out of Dalvin Cook's hands.
No,
I just thought that was a really funny story.
Wait a minute.
This actually happened.
This does not sound real.
This actually
McCarthy's
happened.
channeling his inner Gallagher and smashing watermelons. This does not sound like Mike McCarthy.
He totally did it.
Now, of course, the question, Scott, does the article say whether they were seedless?
It did not.
Fail.
Also, some not so good news. There are more players that are on IR for COVID reasons. Vikings wide receiver Thielen is out. Also, the Bears safety Eddie Jackson. I know we're playing the Bears this week. I do not wish that kind of ill will on anyone, even a rival. So hopefully this thing is done sooner than later. It's getting a bit out of hand.
Yeah, it's getting old as well. This season is just bonkers all the way around. even though the Eagles lost to the Browns and are 3-6-1, they are still in first place in the NFC East. 3-6-1. Next weekend, in addition to the Packers, it's go Eagles and go Broncos.
Could you imagine? I know we obviously want the Packers to go, but could you imagine the Eagles somehow pulling this off and winning the entire thing with a record as low as that? It would just be nuts.
Especially because they would get to host a home game and, well, maybe they could knock the Buccaneers out for us. Who knows?
Yeah.
This year, cool. Anything's possible.
Also, just to go back to standings a little bit, the Saints do top the NFC. There's still hope, however. If we beat the Bears and both of those teams lose, we will be back in the number 1 spot. So we still have a shot to get our way back in this following week. Also, can somebody please beat the Steelers? Please? Just one.
All
least.
This undefeated talk's getting old as well. I believe they play the Ravens on Thanksgiving just a couple days from now. The Ravens don't look quite as dominant as last year, but if there's a team that could beat the Steelers, it could possibly be the Ravens.
I love that there's 3 games on Thanksgiving now, by the way.
Yes. And in last night's game against the Chiefs and Raiders, I'm glad that NBC had Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth highlight how that new Raiders stadium in Vegas, the new indoor Raiders stadium, has natural grass, much like the Cardinal Stadium does. And it showed, some time-lapse video of how the grass just rolls out to the sun to get watered and taken care of. And then they roll it back into the stadium. Did you see that part of the game?
I did not. I did not get to watch the game last night, unfortunately. I went to bed pretty early, but I think you have an obsession with turf.
All fields in the NFL should be natural grass. And if Vegas and Arizona can have indoor stadiums with natural grass, the rest of these places, including Indianapolis, should be able to figure it out.
I agree.
And it's still a month away until the special holiday episode of Doctor Who, the one and only episode we're going to get for like the next year. I will then have a new episode of my Doctor Who podcast, my other show, the Don't Blink podcast. And in addition to Don't Blink and the Packers Fan Podcast, I was just kind of looking back. I've been fortunate to do several other podcasts since 2005. It's around 600 podcast episodes totals, everything from podcasting about Lost, Fringe, 11/22/63, Under the Dome, voiceovers, Christmas, and more. And there's a cool, relatively new site called Podchaser that helps compile and index them all. You can check out all of my other podcast appearances if you're so inclined. I've linked to it at mediavoiceovers.com/Podchaser. Podchaser is like a compilation of hundreds and hundreds of video games. So, Scott, are you on Podchaser with the Gaming Outsider, the Hollywood Outsider, and other shows you've been on?
I did not even hear about Podchaser until you just recommended it, so I will be looking into that this week for sure.
Yeah, so start off with mediavoiceovers.com/Podchaser and check out the numerous appearances, and then sign up for your own, and I want to see where all you've been.
Sounds good. Also, if you love video games as much as I do have another podcast called The Gaming Outsider where we chat about my favorite hobby every single week. This week, we're talking about launch games over the years. What does that mean? It means the games that came out the same date as new hardware. Which games we played on new consoles and loved the most. We also played Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which has an appearance by Ronald Reagan, if you'd believe it. His likeness is actually in the game.
I've seen the commercial.
Yeah. And also a game called Bright Memory, which was developed, no joke, by a single person.
Whoa.
One guy made this entire game all on his own.
Nice.
If you want to hear about that, be sure to head over to our website, which is thegamingoutsider.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out for some opportunities for early Christmas and holiday gift shopping. Our website has a place where you can purchase masks. We are far from this pandemic being over and everybody needs masks. I have handmade ones that I have cut, pressed, and sewn all on my own, including ones that are branded with your favorite Packers podcast, the Packers Fan Podcast. And if you'd like to purchase one, you can head over to thegamingoutsider.com/thego-shop. We know they love to find value in Wisconsin, and we offer you all kinds of value here at the Packers Fan Podcast. Our Patreon page offers several tiers for which you can donate, and each tier offers its own special rewards. Your pledges are invested into making the podcast better for you, as well as periodic Patreon perks like Packers Fan Podcast stickers, window clings, buttons, shout-outs in the show, and even our new two-sided t-shirt at higher levels. Details can be found at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. Big thank you to Bryant for all of your support at the Willie Wood level. You deserve a Go Pack Go. Also grateful for the $12 monthly pledges from the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics. Go Pack Go to you and yours as well.
And speaking of shout-out perks, thanks to our $4 Patreon supporters, Go Pack goes for Jeff Summerfield, Lawrence Harvey, and Andre in L.A., Also, Go Pack goes and shout-outs to those supporting at the Curly Lambeau $1 level, Hank Davis at the TPE Network, Remy Lavictoire, Matt Haig, Joe Christensen, and Beth Mintick as well. And whether or not you can financially pledge, we are humbled and thankful that you listen to the show each week. Be sure to tell your friends about the podcast, interact on social, and call in feedback. We want to thank you yet again for all of your support here on the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not affiliated with the NFL or even with the Green Bay Packers just yet. Remember to have our voicemail feedback number handy, 920-3PACK-GO. Have it programmed into your phones, especially this Sunday night where time is of the essence because of the game being so late. Call us with your excitement from our victory over the Bears.
Also, we invite you to follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at Packers Fan Podcast. If you'd like to follow me personally, my handle is at GoCastScott, and Wayne's is at Wayne Henderson. And as Bears Week continues, here's the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics to send us out in style.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack Go!